Hello and welcome back once again, film friends, to the Film Cave. This would be around the time that I would do my top 10 films of the year. Considering that in 2020 I watched maybe a sum total of about 5 new films that came out, I've got to say I don't think that's gonna be happening this year. So we'll just review this film instead. And as we enter into the dreaded Tier 4, what more could we ask for than a brand new Pixar movie to be released on Christmas Day, no less, for absolutely no extra cost to Disney Plus subscribers? Totally worth it, right? Let's get into it. So Pixar'S Soul is the new Pixar movie to be released by Disney, exclusively on Disney Plus at no extra cost to Disney Plus subscribers, unlike the experiment that they did earlier in the year with releasing Mulan as a premiere access thing that you had to pay a little bit extra to be able to watch on release, which didn't really go down that well. Disney just kind of decided, you know what? Screw it. We've got loads of subscribers at the moment. There are probably even more people subscribing around Christmas. Let's just give them Soul as, I guess, a Christmas present. Why not? And now we all have access to Soul for free on Disney Plus if you are already subscribed. It does strike me as a little bit strange that the last film that I saw physically in the cinema this year, and consequently the only film that I actually went to the cinema to see this year, was also a Pixar movie, which was Onward. And now we're rounding out the year with another Pixar movie, so nice little Pixar sandwich of 2020 there. But full disclosure, I did expect to get the same feels and emotionally hit that I usually do with Pixar movies. It didn't quite happen to the extent that I thought that it might, but actually, given the context of the film, in a way, I'm kind of glad that it didn't hit me, because it meant that I could enjoy the film without waiting for that moment where I'm gonna crack and break and stream into tears. Oh god, no, let's not get into tears at the moment, that's a whole other subject. So the basic premise of Soul is that Jamie Foxx plays a guy named Joe, who is a middle school band teacher and also a jazz aficionado. He is really into his music. He's waited his whole life for his big break to be a big time musician, and it finally happens. And on the day that it happens, he dies. He dies at the start of the film. He falls down a manhole, of all things. But as his soul is travelling to the great beyond, he decides he's not quite ready for that. He breaks through the barrier and ends up in a place called the Great Before, which is where souls kind of go to prepare to be placed into people on planet Earth. He then meets a soul that has not yet gone to Earth by the name of 22. And 22 is played by Tina Fey, and she is kind of the soul that's just not ready to leave yet, doesn't really want to experience life, and they've gone through all of these different mentors to try and convince her to go down to Earth and be a part of life, and she just doesn't want to. And then from there, the film kind of evolves into this whole monologue about the difference between living and being alive, and what your purpose is and what defines you as a person. It does get quite philosophical. Now, part of me was thinking during this whole time, is this a little bit too philosophical for kids? This feels really a lot more like a film that's designed to be relatable for adults, and maybe adults that have lived a particular life that maybe wasn't the one that they planned for at the start when they were figuring out who they wanted to be. But there is a lot of elements to this film that kids can get into and enjoy as well. There's a body swap part of the storyline where Joe and a cat and 22 are all kind of mixed up to one another. There's this whole bit about meeting souls that are on an astral plane through people doing meditation to achieve a different level of enlightenment, which I found hilarious. Side note, Graham Norton plays one of those voices, and not to put too fine a point on it, someone I know has compared me to that character visually, I'm not sure I see it. So there are a multitude of different levels on this film that actually can bring in adults and kids alike. And yeah, I was worried for a little while that most of this might go over kids' heads because they haven't lived long enough to appreciate the viewpoint in this film of someone living a life waiting for things to happen, living with a certain amount of regrets, that maybe they didn't take more chances, that maybe they didn't make some right decisions at points in their life, and those kind of divergent points that they experience through their lifetime. But then I remember that it is a Pixar film. It is designed with kids in mind, and perhaps there is a teaching aspect to this monologue that goes on that kids can appreciate that maybe we're not giving them credit for. Maybe there is the mentality that kids are actually smarter than that, and actually they can watch this film and go, oh, hey, I might experience things later in life that might hold me back, but I know that if I make decisions that I'm happy with and I enjoy who I am, then everything's gonna be okay. But then also there is the cat body swap thing as well that they might also enjoy. So, you know, there's both of them. Both of them, why not? I do have to say though that one of the biggest draws of Soul, for me personally, was how beautiful, visually speaking, the film looks. Pixar have come such a long way in their animation processes that they can now create these visibly tangible, photorealistic worlds that these characters can inhabit. And even though the characters themselves don't look like photorealistic people, the lighting and the effects about them gives them a sense of cartoonish realism that is relatable enough for you to go, I know that these people aren't real people that I'm looking at, but there's something about them that feels real enough that I am drawn into their story. Everything from the scenery to the lighting effects in different lights and rooms on people's skin. Different people have different skin textures in this film. There is a whole list in the credits of Soul of animators that were just dedicated to the textures of sweaters. Do you know how much work has to go into animating a sweater? Because I didn't. But all the same, it is now up there, along with Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, as possibly one of the greatest animated movies that I have seen of all time. So while the end of Soul didn't exactly move me as emotionally as some other Pixar films has, yes, I'm looking at you, Onward, Coco, both of you. I do feel like the message that's put across in this film is something that is almost so universally relatable that I feel like the more people that watch this film, the more at ease with who we are and the decisions that we've made in our lifetime we are all going to be. Dare I say it, this might be the film that 2020 needed to end on for all of our mental sakes. Just putting it out there. So, with all of that in mind, Disney Pixar's Soul gets 4.5 stars from me. I wasn't going to give it the extra half star, but you know what? I reconsidered, and I do think it deserves it, purely for the performance that Jamie Foxx and Tina Fey give in this movie, and the music by Trent Resner and Atticus Ross as well really, really sold this film for me. What a note to leave 2020 on. It's not the note that I thought we'd be leaving on, but hey, I think it's one that we all needed. So, Disney Pixar's Soul. Have you seen it? What did you think about it? What was your favourite moment of the movie? Did you relate to this film on an emotional level, or did you just enjoy watching it from a visual perspective? All comments are welcome in the comments section below. Let's talk nerdy. Don't forget that we do have a podcast out as well. It's called Back to the Reviewture, and you can subscribe to it right now on your favorite podcast player. We did just release a Christmas special episode, and we've released a special series look for Cobra Kai season 1 and 2 as our New Year's special before we continue on our regular ones at the start of 2021. So feel free to go ahead and subscribe to that while you're at it. And if you've enjoyed what you've seen here and you want to see some more, you can click right here to subscribe and see some more funky fresh videos from yours truly. And until that point, I think we can all agree that we can finally say goodbye to the year that was 2020 and hope eternally that 2021 is a better year all round, but also better for film releases as well, because here's hoping there's going to be a lot more of those next year.